Hi there, this is Janet Gershensiegel, and I'm the Lonely Writer. This is serious social media help for the independent author. I'm a master's degree candidate at Quinnipiac University, and this is my capstone project. Today I am speaking with Jody Wheeler, who is not only a director, writer, and producer at Cthulhu Crush Productions, but he's also a publisher at Digital Fabulists. So, welcome.
Hello, Janet. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Crazy voice. I thought I'd start with a crazy voice.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my goodness. I am my current main job is as a producer and writer and director. I have a small production company in Los Angeles, Cthulhu Crush Productions. We have a film coming out this summer, video digital horror film called WTF. We've got a couple films in development. I've directed. I used to work with Blue Seraph Productions. A couple of years ago, we made The Dark Place and Judas Kiss. I've written a couple of other films that have been made. And so, I mean, but I talk about all that stuff and it sounds impressive. I am the first person to say I'm small time. So I try to keep a healthy, in this town, I try to keep a healthy sense of who I am and know, oh my goodness, I'd love to be Steven Spielberg, but there's miles to go before I can sleep like that. But that's kind of what I do as a day job. But along the way, I stumbled into creating a very small boutique publishing company called Digital Fabulists with a best friend from high school, Alan Duffin. He's my co-publisher, and we've known each other since we were in Boy Scouts.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So it was last year, right?
It was last year, yes. But through my stuff, and Alan is a fantastic creative force in packaging and putting books together and things. And I've met a lot of writers here in Hollywood. Screenwriters tend to be novelists, and novelists tend to be screenwriters. And it's so hard to get either out there that I started looking around at friends and books and stuff that they had done or had sitting around. And I'm like, you know what? I think there's a hell of a lot of talent here. Let's pull this stuff together and start making this stuff good, packaging it together, and getting out there. There's a lot of digital resources that make it easy for authors to get their stuff up there. Let's come together and kind of make this. And so we launched Digital Fabulous a couple of years ago. Okay. And we put out some really nice titles in the process of doing so. So
let's talk a little bit about your titles. So you've got some kind of interesting stuff. So have at it.
Well, I mean, we have everything from LGBT science fiction and fantasy to mainstream documentary books about pit bulls. I mean, it kind of is, if the books are interesting and have a unique voice and interesting point of view, we work with the author and we bring those together and we make them. We have one of the books is History in Blue, 160 Years of Women Police, Sheriffs, Detectives, and State Troopers. Fantastic. And that's a wonderful title that really kind of documents police officers from London in the 1880s to today and how things have kind of changed over time. The Passion of Sergius and Bacchus by David Reddish, it kind of is this love story between two guys back during the birth of Christianity, and talks about all the issues that are kind of involved in that, finances for teens. On the documentary side, about how some point of view that you can give to young people about how to navigate their financial situations and build, get their first credit card, how things work, credit works. Gladiator Dogs has been one of our bestsellers, which is a book by Dr. Carl Semensik. I can never quite get his last name right. He'll probably kill me for saying it wrong. But it's about the history of fighting dogs, about pit bulls and that kind of thing. And we put that together. What else can I go on? Peter Sain's Coven of Wolves. It's an LGBT werewolf magic story series. He's got 2 books out now, and he's working on a 3rd book. I mean, we've been able to put this stuff together. Invisible Soft Return by Roberta Degnor is this wonderful stream of conscious sci-fi tale, and several of these books and it was nominated for a Lambda Award. The Passion of Sergius Bacchus nominated for Lambda Award. One of my college buddies, Isaac Ho, grad school buddies, Isaac Ho is a Asian American writer. He's a writer who happens to be Asian American, but I want to put that in there.
Yes.
But he writes some really kind of cool stuff. The Repatriation, he wrote a book on that has an Asian American action hero, where it's the world changes. America elects a kind of a Donald Trump ish president, and they all decide that they're going to get rid of all the Chinese Americans.
Oh my gosh!
Put them in, the hero of this story winds up challenging the government and starts a revolution, and it's pretty cool how this stuff kind of comes together. Henry Chen, Repatriation of Henry Chen, he's the hero of this story, and it's a brand new and unique. It's a fun story. The hero is somebody that you don't usually see as the hero in a novel like this, and I love talking about this kind of stuff because these are some really interesting voices in different ways that people are telling stories. And yes, we're all equal, but some of us, use whatever is different about us to tell really cool ways into fiction and narrative. So anyway, I could go on and on about the books. I'll ask Ken, I think we have like 40 titles in it. So we're a very small company, but we try to find the books that are interesting to us and that we're passionate about, and work with the authors. I mean, we don't lock down authors' rights. We revenue share with the authors, so people can have. If these books really take off, we hope that people stay with us. But of course. But we also recognize that if Random House comes calling, or if Hollywood comes calling, we want authors to be able to use this. We're not a vanity press. Mm-hmm. It's not submit a book and we'll put it together and send it out there. We don't charge people we don't charge people for stuff. But we know how to navigate. So in digital publishing now, you have so many ways of putting your book out there. Kindle is probably the greatest. Amazon's probably been one of the best ways of getting your book out into the world. It's tough to make money, but you can get your book out there pretty easy.
Yes.
So we use ebooks. We use the print-on-demand books, and we use the audiobooks. We actually are able to have audiobooks created for all of these. Again, using Amazon services and that kind of stuff. So we go at this on a variety of fronts. We did sell PDFs early on when we started, but there really wasn't much market for that. And we also found that we tried to put books up on other platforms, and for all of the energy that it went in to make sure that the books looked good digitally on those platforms, the sales weren't very good relative to what you get on Amazon. And since you're also trying to drive your positioning on Amazon, it just seemed to be better to funnel everything towards Amazon to do stuff.
Absolutely, and that's something I think we should sort of remind independent authors about, is that it can be very attractive to get your book in a whole bunch of different places, but you can often do better if you concentrate on only one or two places. And Amazon really is the big gorilla, and it's if you're not on Amazon, you're really kind of shooting yourself in the foot here. And particularly if, let's say, you get 100 sales, God love it, I hope you do, then if 90 of them are on Amazon, that's going to jack up your ranking as an author and your book as well, big time. Whereas if you've got 100 sales and 50 of them are on Amazon, and then 20 of them are on Smashwords or whatnot, yes, you still make money, and that's fantastic, and of course that's really awesome. but it's not jacking your Amazon ranking quite so well. And when you jack your Amazon ranking up, more people are going to see your book, and that's just all there is to it.
Exactly.
This is positioning, folks, and it's very helpful. And even though it's the same money, you're still going to help yourself. Now, if I was going to submit to you, I know that you do take querying, but why don't you talk about a little bit the other end of the query process? Because the independent author, I think a lot of us, we sort of say, "Oh my God, I don't know where to send my book, and so I'm going to send it to a bunch of places. So maybe quantity will be better than quality." So, can you address that a little bit?
Yeah, we usually ask for a cover letter that just says, "I've got a book. Here's the book idea." And is this something that you would be interested in hearing more about? Mm-hmm. And submissions at digitalfabulists.com. And Janet, I'll give you the direct link for that.
I will put that out. Absolutely.
And so I look for something that's pretty interesting, and that's worth kind of working with another author, because it's a long-term, it's like a relationship, it's a long-term commitment with them, and that's what I think is interesting. We only do a couple of books a year. Again, it's kind of a small, and I'll be the first to admit it, more part-time for both myself and Alan, but we try to do that, and but we look for books that we think we can get behind, and that we can have our digital media person really talk about and push out there, books that we think that can find an audience or can find fans and might be voices that otherwise don't get heard. And that's the fun thing. Also, if you're going to send a cover letter, spell check it, grammar check it,
please,
do that kind of stuff. That's the crazy thing. I still see that. Look, everybody can make a mistake in a cover letter, but when you've got 50 mistakes in there, and if the cover letter isn't grammatically correct or written interestingly enough, I'm doubting the book is going to be any better.
Well, and that's understandable. I mean, this is, it's sort of like, the way I see it is, it's a lot like an elevator pitch if you're looking for a job. Mm-hmm. When you meet somebody on the street and you hand them your business card, or whatnot, or you shake their hand, or maybe they're just somebody who you see and they're of interest to you, and they say, "Hey, I do whatever it is that you're looking forward to do in your career." You can kind of hem and haw and say, "Well, I'm kind of okay at this and whatever," and then that person is looking at their watch and saying, "Sorry, I got to go pick up my dry cleaning." Or you can be confident and positive and, declarative sentences and active voice instead of passive. I mean, we're writers. We should be writing well. And yes. That means that cover letter, that query letter has got to be well written as well.
Yes. And that's the thing. And there's so many cover letters and so many query stuff that comes through. We can't always keep up with all of them. And a lot of them sit there, and a lot of them are, I look for the ones that are the best. I look for the ones that reach out and kind of get to me. And we have a queue, and so when we have the space that opens up, we like, okay, let's start working with somebody to fill this spot. I mean, we like to have books that come in that are pretty much the author's vision, and that we don't have to go in there and wade through and say and tear this out and that out. I mean, we've done that with authors before and said, but this is more about trying to work and trying to help an author with their vision and respecting the author's vision and getting it forward so that people can see it. And if you can impress me with the book, then I think you're going to impress anybody out there in the world.
Exactly. I mean, here, when I got published, one of the things that I did is, even before I sent out to query, is I had a professional editor edit this book. This is somebody who I paid, folks, and I thought that was extraordinarily helpful, not only to get it into shape, but also because it was a real confidence builder. That this was somebody who had read a lot of books, obviously on a professional basis, and she was able to wade through this and go through it and say, I think you have something here.
Yeah.
And to hear that from a professional was extraordinarily helpful, and it really gave me, kind of helped me get out of the imposter syndrome that I think a lot of us suffer from.
Oh goodness, yes. We all have that. I still have that, and I've written films and stuff. Surprisingly, I still haven't written a novel myself. I have novelettes and and all sitting around, but I still haven't sat down and just done a novel. So I'm still impressed by everybody that comes through. And it's like I focus so much on screenplays and the producing and directing stuff and the book stuff, but I'm really impressed by the novels that kind of come through, and so that's actually on my list too. I get energized by reading all of these novels that we've published and go, goodness, this is on my list to do. I'm going to get there too. I swear.
And so I hope that that's encouraging to people. It's this can be a difficult process sometimes, and it can be discouraging at times. Particularly if you get the occasional rejection letter, or if it goes through and you don't get anything back.
As all authors and creators and that kind of thing, whether you are making a book, a short story, or a film, it is a tough process. I mean, I've made or produced, I think we're up to 5 films now, with 2 more in the pipeline, and we've had one of those films was really well received. The other ones were kind of fine, but these are your babies, and
yes.
You're expecting everybody in the world to love your kids as much as you love your kids, and your kids can be perfectly beautiful and whatnot, but people are like, well, these kids over here are far more closer, far more interesting, and I like them more. You can put all this work into it, and it doesn't go, and it doesn't reach out, and you get the response that you want, and that can be disconcerting. That can be upsetting, and we're all sensitive people and all. But the important thing is to keep going at it. I've discovered, and I've found from writers, that if most writers, their book in this day and age, because of how much books are out there, you're basically getting beer money off.
Yes, we bought a dinner out, as I recall.
Yes. However, the authors that I find that do better are the ones who write more books. And even if you're making beer money, if you have enough books, it's pretty soon suddenly you're buying a case of beer, and then you're buying a truckload of beer, and then you're buying a warehouse full of beer. It's that kind of thing. The really professional authors who've done a killing, the authors who've been out there for years and who have a deep library that they're putting up, even they will talk about the fact that they've got 60 or 70 or 80 books, and they're all up there, and most of them make a couple of dollars, but over the course of lots of books, that adds up. And most of us are not Stephen King kind of writers. We can't just crank out books. Many of us are more like George R.R. Martin. 3,000 years. But the thing is to not write one book and expect that to be it. Same thing I tell people with screenplays. Don't write one screenplay and think that that's going to be your ticket to the big time. It's doing this again and again and again and again and again, and creating visions and stories, and creating book series, going back, finding stories that you can tell, because each book that you do, each screenplay that you do, I always wrap it, each one is a chance. Each one of them is a chance to find an audience, and each one betters your skill as you go along. And that's what's important here, is to keep pounding at it. And 2 or 3 or 4 books, that's an amazing accomplishment for anybody to be able to do. If you can do 30 or 40 or 50 and they're all good, even better. But if you can write 2 or 3 or 4 books, that's an achievement, and that shows a vision, and that shows a lot of passion and dedication. And I even one book, if you can make it through if you can get one book that you're happy with and let it out there to let people to read, that's still pretty amazing too.
It is a numbers game, and it's a numbers game for a few reasons that you've touched on. Certainly, we're always told that if you get through 1 million words, you write 1 million words, by the time you get to about your millionth and first word or so, suddenly you don't stink anymore. So that's part of it, is that you're growing as a writer. Another reason is you can kind of keep writer's block at bay if you keep producing. It doesn't mean that you're a trained SEAL and somebody says, oh, write me a story about ocelots, and okay, let's do that, and then suddenly you're there with your pen or your keyboard. But if you can continually be creating, it kind of gets you away from the anxiety of a blank page.
Yes.
And the other thing is, again, I'm going to go back to talking about Amazon and social media and how you position yourself. Again, that's also positioning. If you have just one book, and that means one ranking, then Amazon's algorithm is only going to rank you in conjunction with that one book. Whereas if you are an author of 3 or 4 or 15 or whatever books, and they can be different kinds, you can be in a whole bunch of different little silos there. You also have an overall author ranking, and it does help. And I know we all see numbers and we see them going up and down, and we'll be looking at our book and saying, oh my God, I'm the millionth one, or I'm 2 million on the list. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with this. Don't panic when you see that. All that means is that you haven't had a sale recently. It doesn't mean that you're bad or that your book is bad. It just means you haven't sold recently. And you can be, perfectly wonderful and a great author. But if you've sold one book, just one, then you've got a ranking. If you're looking at books that have no ranking, that means they haven't sold anything. So keep that in mind too.
That's good to know. That's also good information to know.
That's what I do for a living, folks.
I also encourage people that with the tools that are out there, whether you go through a publishing company like ours, whether you do it all yourself, which you can do, and it's not a shameful thing to want to create the book, build the book, find the cover, do all that stuff yourself, and do it through CreateSpace and all. Those are all great things to do. I encourage people, if you're going to use Amazon, and yes, you're the big kid on the block, and yes, we can talk about the problems with revenues and free Kindle books and people reading them and returning them, and you're not getting the revenue for them, all that crazy crap. But I do encourage you to use the services that are there. You can actually get your book available at bookstores. People can walk in and order them through the CreateSpace service, where they actually will make a physical book for you, and you pay a little bit extra, and you can have that book available in any bookstore, available to be ordered as a physical book in any bookstore out there on the planet. You can also use Amazon's audiobook creation exchange,
yes,
which allows you to have an audiobook made, and it's a service where you can it takes authors of books, and it takes people who are book readers professionally or trying to get into that, and through either a payment or a revenue share, you can link up together, and they will, and if they want to read your book and you like their audition, you can work together to actually make an audiobook. And then those audiobooks are available on audible.com, the top tier Audible source, because Amazon owns audible.com. But we've actually been able to have a good chunk of our books turn into audiobooks, and they do good sale. I mean, it's more beer money in there. It helps. It really does, and it shows that you've got a book that's available as digitally. You've got a book available in softcover. You've got a book available as an audiobook. And these are all ways to find an audience. I'd love to be able to do hardcover books, but Amazon's not really set up to do that, and it's hard to do that, to get those done.
I think fewer people are buying hardcover books anyway. One thing that I would also recommend is, and this happens to be my own book, is I will actually go into a public library with my book and say, I have a free book for you, and they love hearing that, and give my little spiel about it, and also talk a little bit about what my connection is to the library, because, the library in Oklahoma City probably doesn't give a damn who I am, but the one that is 2 blocks from my house does. The one that I went to when I was a teenager, they also care, and because it's also their own positioning. So basically what you say is, I can donate this book to you. I'm a local author, and a lot of these a lot of libraries have usually they have a display for somebody who's somehow related to the area, and all you ask is what I like, what you in exchange is if you could please photograph my book on your shelf or in whatever display it's at, send it to me. Here's my email address, and I will put it out there and tell everybody what a wonderful library you've got, and I will use this in my marketing materials. And people and librarians love this because, again, it's a free book. If it ends up in their rummage pile a month later, who the hell cares?
Right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You still got it out there. It was still shown in the library. And even if they junk it in a month, you still have more marketing materials for yourself and more people know who you are.
Yes. I think it's much more, all of this is much more a marathon than a sprint.
Yes.
Is just being able to do this again and again and again and put stuff out. There's no shame in having a day job and coming home and writing at night. There is none in that. And in, a year or two, you're creating a new book and putting it out there and just building yourself a library, building yourself it's your vision of the world. It's how you see, whether you're a sci-fi author, a fantasy author, you're writing nonfiction books, romance stories. These are your views of the world, your views of stories. These are your expressions, and and put those expressions out there. Create those expressions and leave them behind. Leave them behind for posterity.
Yes.
It's another record that you were here, and somebody will read your stuff, and most of the time you will find a fan. I mean, you can be the best author in the world, you can be a good author, you can be a terrible author. There are fans for all of those. Absolutely.
So great inspirational words from Jody Wheeler. We're just about out of time. So is there anything else? How can we get in touch with you online? I will put all links up, by the way.
I'll give you the links, but you can find us at digitalfabulists.com. And that's a great place to go take a look at. And then the movie company that I have, production company, is CthulhuCrush.com. And of course, yes, it's named for Lovecraft's wonderfully monstrous creature that will eat your soul and love it at the same time. So, yes.
Okay, and so once again, I'd like to thank Jody Wheeler, and thank you for listening. And if you have questions, obviously they can go into the comment section, and we'll be happy to try to answer them. So thanks for listening.